Hello, and welcome to reCapping with Delora
and Ashley.
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at reCapping Podcast.
Also, rate, review, and subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all the things.
We want to hear your thoughts on the movies and shows we review.
Leave us a comment on Apple Podcasts or our YouTube channel, and we will read them during the show.
Or reach out to us on social media. We love talking all things entertainment and pop culture with you.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you. Hello, Ashley.
Hello, hello.
Are you ready to save the world?
In film, sure. In real life, I'm exhausted.
Not the Viola Davis. U.S. President Danielle Sutton in her vibrant red. Y'all, I am talking about G20, the brand spanking new movie available on Prime. It was released April 10th, 2025. It's an hour, 48 minutes long, rated R. It's an action / mystery and thriller. Here's a quick summary. When the G20 summit comes under siege, U.S. President Danielle Sutton, played by the Academy Award winner Viola Davis, becomes the #1 target. After evading capture by the attackers, she must outsmart the enemy to protect her family, defend her country, and safeguard world leaders in this action-packed thrill ride. Here's the cast. Viola Davis as President Danielle Sutton. Anthony Anderson as Derek Sutton. Shout out to them having the same initials, apparently.
Yeah.
My boo, Roman Rodriguez as Agent Manny. Marcy Martin as Serena Sutton. Anthony Starr as Ritlodge. Douglas Hodge as Prime Minister Oliver Everett. Elizabeth Marvel as Treasury Secretary Joanna. And shout out to Christopher Farver as Demetrius Sutton, the brother and the son. The director is Patricia Ridgen. She is a Latina director, so this was really exciting. Black lead, woman director, and then the writers. We have Caitlin Parrish, Erica Wills, and Logan Miller. Viola and her husband are some of the producers for
Shout
this
out
film.
to Julius.
Yes, I was screaming when I saw him on the screen. I'm like, that was her husband.
That's the same thing my mom said. I was like, what's her name? Melissa McCarthy and her husband are in everything together. So I love to see it.
Love to see it. Rotten Tomatoes gave this film 56% from the critics, 52% from audience. Google users gave this film 70%. Ashley, what is your grade for G20?
I give it B minus. I mean, it was cool for an action film. I thought the plot was interesting. I can't say I ever fully understood,
girl,
exactly what we were doing here, but strong cast. I loved Manny as well. I loved Viola as a president, because even if we don't have it in reality yet, we can make it in our fiction. I enjoyed the team up again between Marcy Martin and Anthony Anderson. That was fun.
That was
amazing.
One of my notes here too. I loved it.
So it's really the cast that made this a worthwhile production to me. If this had been any other cast, I don't know if I would have stuck through it, but they made it worthwhile to push through and kind of see how this was going to wrap up. So B minus for me. What about you?
For me, it's a B minus C. To your point, the plot was thin. but I thoroughly enjoyed the cast, including the villain, Anthony Starr. I know him as Homelander from The Boys. He plays a bad guy very well.
And at least he ain't drinking breast milk in this one. So that's a step up. So
I'm not gonna
weird.
lie. Seeing Viola Davis in this role, I was excited. Like I was looking for a John Wick or an Equalizer, right? But what I got was more of a back in action situation. Shout out to that recap. That's the one with Jamie
Yeah.
Foxx and Cameron Diaz. It
Yeah.
had great bones, but towards the end, I'm just laughing more at it than like with it.
Yeah. I don't even know if I was laughing. I was just kind of like, oof. All right. Let's wrap
David
this
and
up.
I were laughing because I'm just like, who is going to pull this helicopter off the ledge?
Yeah. Let's wrap this up. It was giving impossible fast and furious stunts there at the
Yes.
end for
I was
sure.
like, is this a rock movie? Like, how is this
Yes,
possible?
it was. Yes, it was.
But shout out to Viola Davis. We talked about this from our discussion of number one on the call sheet. There's not a lot of roles for Black women. So you got to make them. And so that's what she and her husband did. And it was in a beautiful location. They had the cast that they wanted. And
Yeah,
it
and
looked
shout out
like it
to
was a good time.
representation. We didn't really
Yes.
have these type of films with Black women leading them in our
Especially
era.
over a certain age.
Hmm.
Absolutely not. We have
Yep.
not had this. So I'm for that, I am happy to discuss this movie. So, spoiler alert. This film opens up with a money transaction gone wrong. We see immediately Australian Special Forces Corporal Rutledge at the center of it. At the same time, we see that Madam President Danielle Sutton was awakened to be informed of an urgent incident. Turns out that urgent incident has to deal with her teenage daughter sneaking out of the White House to party it up. I did think the setup was cute though, because I was like, well, there was still death and murder, but you're watching the movie thinking she's getting up for one thing, but it's her daughter. And I know Marseille was acting her behind off as the rebellious team, but I love her so much. I was just smiling to see her on screen personally.
Yeah, for sure. Because she's never, I mean, Diane wasn't nice necessarily, but she wasn't like rebellious in the way
Right.
that this portrayal is. And to your point, yeah, they really did set it up really good at first to make you think it was something very, very serious, only for it to turn out that, the first daughter is duping her security.
How did you feel about seeing Annalise in Olivia's domain?
I didn't even think about it like that at all. But touche. I didn't think anything of it. A black woman looked good in the Oval. That's what I was thinking.
Amen to that. I think it's interesting that literally within weeks of each other, Netflix and Prime have these projects with Black women in leadership in this country. Is this a coincidence? Like, I'd like to know how this happens. Because, for example, back in the day, we had A Bug's Life and then like the Ant movie come out. Like through the years, studios would have very similar projects released at the same time. And this one I think is interesting because again, they're released this year where the possibility could have
Yep.
been that we could have had our very first Black woman president. Obviously, that is not the reality. I just thought that was intriguing. And you watched the one with Angela Bassett
And Robert De
and
Niro.
Robert De
Hmm.
Niro.
I mean, it's our time. We were putting black men in the White House in fiction before Barack Obama took office. It's our
True.
time. Like I said,
Shout
if
out
it's
Chris
not,
Rock.
yeah, Morgan Freeman, few people.
Yep.
If it is not reality yet, it will be. is what I take from these depictions. We gotta, as my mom always likes to say, cell phones were first seen in Star Trek. Put it on wax, put it on film, and it too shall pass. Okay?
Write it down, make it plain. Okay. And visualization is very powerful, y'all. So
Yes, all these little girls who are like, Kamala ain't the president. Guess what? Viola Davis is. Guess
she
what?
sure
Angela
is.
Bassett is.
I know that's right. So, Ashley, you mentioned not understanding the plot fully, and I completely agree because honestly, as soon as they started talking about crypto, my eyes started glazing over. Like, President Sutton is interested in rolling out her quote together plan to world leaders to help the poor with digital currency. I feel like this is such a long shot that again, I'm just like, you lost me at Bitcoin, Ashley. Like,
Yeah, I was confused. And I was like, and how are we saying that this is actually aiding people? Is this a reality, something we should consider for the future and reality of America? I don't, and the world, I don't know. It felt very thinly researched.
like if you're talking about poor people, how are they going to have the technology
Yeah.
required
And
to
haven't
exchange Bitcoin? Like
hasn't it
I
also been established some of this stuff is terrible for the environment? Like,
correct.
so then
Correct.
we want to do it in mass?
And then again, the likelihood of poor people being in rural areas. So you're not going to have the high speed internet that's required to
Right.
transfer these funds. Again, this is us being utilizing our master's degree on this mic. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but this is what she's shooting for. And her goal, along with her treasurer secretary, Joe, is to go to Cape Town at the G20 summit to get people on board.
For a minute, I was like, why y'all gotta take some drama to the motherland? Like, why we gotta have nonsense in
Listen,
Africa? Y'all gonna hurt my people?
listen.
You know what I'm
But
saying?
at the same time, I was really excited that it was said in Africa because why not? Shout out Cape Town, Africa. It was so lovely. I
It
was like,
was
can I
lovely.
go?
I
Can
just
I
didn't
want to
want
go?
not a hair to be hurt on the head of my people, is all I'm saying. That's what I was thinking. I was like, don't y'all do nothing crazy to the Africans, okay?
The other thing that's worth mentioning is that for this trip, they will be utilizing private security, which the president hates. She makes it known, but they are moving forward with it anyway. So, surprise, surprise. That's how the bad guys get in.
Surprise, surprise. This would never happen. They would
In
have to
a
be vetted to the teeth.
girl, girl, what do you mean private security for the
Secret
president?
Service, Secret Service, Secret Service. Did we not just watch Paradise? Like, what are we talking about?
But there was some Secret Service drama in between the Obama administration and the first Trump administration, where some of them got drunk or doing some crazy
Sure,
stuff. Yeah,
they're humans, but what I'm saying is Secret Service is not gonna be like, all right, cool. Y'all go ahead and go with a private security firm. No.
right. So in this movie, Ashley, you have we're assuming the first lady president, but I think it's interesting that she is a veteran. What do you think about that particular angle to this film?
I liked it because it gave her grit. It gave her
Yes.
this feeling of like, she's not just a diplomat. She's been through some things. She's seen some things. She has a different perspective in office than other folks may who are just career politicians. So I liked it.
Me too. I also thought it was interesting. They didn't focus on her possibly being the first president. They just were like, she's
She just
president,
is.
she's
Yeah.
a veteran, and that's just how that cookie crumble. We do know though that she's newly elected because this is her first international trip. Let's talk about family dynamics. Okay, so we talked about the mother daughter dynamic. What did you think about her relationship with the first husband? Did Anthony Anderson do it justice?
Yeah, he seemed cool. I mean, he reminded me of,
Doug?
yeah, like supportive, there, wind beneath your wings, in tow, supporting his wife, doing what he needed to do. There wasn't friction. There was no power dynamics that we had to focus on. There was no tension in their marriage. I loved it. Good representation.
I loved it too. Like you could tell that he was her backbone for sure. You always hear that adage, behind every great man, there's a great woman. Well, behind a great woman, there's a great man too,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he didn't cower in her shadow, which I greatly, greatly appreciate.
Yeah, maybe he's Stedman. That's who he is.
Yes. Was it clear what the villain's motivations were?
It seemed to me, and I was even saying this to me and my mom watched this together, that they were trying to portray him as Robin Hood, right? As what these politicians are trying to do is going to hurt us, hurt the general public, hurt the people. And so we're not for that. So we, the people, are going to rise up and take over. That was what it seemed like at first. And I was like, you know what? He's maybe one of those villains that, his arc is not as treacherous as it seems. Yes, he's doing treacherous things to get there, but maybe he's going to be one of those villains that, hey, he's not unreasonable. But that was early days.
I agree because at the end of the day, it did feel self serving. And again, they managed to infiltrate the security, locking up all the world leaders in one room, shooting up people. The two big gets were the president of the United States and the prime minister of Britain. They managed to get away because of Manny's brilliance. I'm gonna fangirl over Manny. Manny is like the real MVP for me in this
He
movie.
definitely is. I think everybody who watched this fell in love with Manny.
I know. They, along with a few other world leaders, managed to escape. And Great Britain was getting on my last nerve.
Girl, yes. They had him being so irritating. Like, you have three women who are keeping their wits about them and know that the president of the United States is making a lot of sense. And then you have him over here whining and complaining and not doing what he needs to do. That point where she was like, I will not leave them. And he said what he said. She was like, okay, you can stay here then. Like, I felt her. I'm
Period.
like, I'm trying to help. That's all I'm trying to do. If you want to stay here, you stay here. These
Exactly.
other
I'm
women, they
like,
have some sense. Shout out, by the way, to the lady who we
yes.
had from our previous recap of White Lotus season 2.
Yep.
Love
Yep.
seeing her. I don't know if I'm watching season 3, by the way. That Patrick Schwarzenegger situation, I don't know if I can sit through it.
There's such mixed reviews about it. I am intrigued, but I have not watched it fully either. So should be very interesting. They go through it. The small group of leaders led by Viola Davis' character. I think one of the most interesting scenes, and probably my favorite, would be the elevator escape.
Mm-hmm.
I was sweating. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, y'all gonna get out of here. Did you have any favorite fight scenes or, action scenes?
That was a great one, especially because I did not know how they were going to get out of that situation. When people are trapped, it makes you as the audience feel trapped. I think
Yeah.
one of the things I don't like as an audience member is to feel out of control. And so when my main protagonist character is out of control, I get massive anxiety. So that scene, I was very, very anxious. Thankfully, we did what we needed to do. But also the kitchen scene with the twins.
Yeah.
I did not know how that was gonna go. And we got hostages. I was like, ah. My mom kept saying, like, why they got Viola going up against these big old men? And I was like,
I
listen,
mean,
she
they are
can
not
carry.
holding those
They
punches
were
at
not,
all.
girl. They was hitting body shots and everything. I was like, damn. But Viola held her own, held it down. So,
Yes, she did. I agree.
oh, and one more. I don't want to get too ahead of us, but we're talking about Manny being the MVP. he did not leave that lady's side under any conditions.
Under no circumstances.
When he
Speaking of the
rolled out of
kitchen
that car,
sheet.
I was like, shut up. Manny, Manny, what are you doing? What are you doing, sir?
Ashley, sir got a bullet in his side.
I
And
do
he
not
was like,
care.
where is the president?
He rolled out that car so fast. I said, my guy takes Secret Service agent to the next level.
But Ashley, I'm not gonna lie, I did put this in my notes. I feel like there was more chemistry between her and Manny than it was between her and Anthony.
I mean, that's fair. They had way more scenes together, right? And he
Yeah,
is like,
yeah.
that's like, I mean, is this the bodyguard 2.0? Is this who we gonna have in the revamp?
She ain't leaving her wonderful husband, but still, it was giving that. And maybe I'm in my romance bag because I love me who touched you moment.
I mean, seriously. He was the MVP. Man, I want him in Paradise season 2.
I know, but he has this whole entire show on ABC.
I know. I know.
I'm
I
like,
know.
am I gonna I was always intrigued by it because when I first saw it, I was like, is this giving Monk 2.0? Like, you know what I mean? Because
Tony Shalhoub.
procedural, yeah, but I'll check it out because I was won over. Okay.
This is the second like cutie Latino sidekick. You also had one in the latest Captain America film. I said, okay, what's
Oh, I
going
haven't seen
on?
that. Okay.
Yes. You had
Okay.
you had his name was his name Manny too? No, I don't think it was Manny. It wasn't Manny. But you had, yep. So I was like, okay. You're trying to love on us a little bit. We love y'all too.
We love people. That's one thing about Black people. We love people. While Viola and her crew are, you know, trying to escape the crazy man and find her family, they in the main room with the captives, they're having them say this message that they can ultimately dupe using artificial intelligence, AI, or A1, like the head of the Department of Education likes to refer to it. Um, basically, they can manipulate it, send it out to the world, saying even the world leaders are agreeing to do this with cryptocurrency. This is where I was like, y'all are doing a lot for me and not explaining it for me to fully grasp. I understand it in theory. I guess that's all you need, right? With an action film. But yeah.
Well, because it's like, is this impacting the stock market? Is this
Right.
impacting a cryptocurrency market in particular? Like,
Is the
again,
dollar getting weak?
it doesn't feel like it's well researched. It's just kind of like, okay, we're going to talk about crypto and then we're going to throw a bunch of words at you and then we're going to play around but not have any real depth about how any of this stuff is achieved. And that's fine, but it definitely made it much less impactful, because essentially it's like, okay, well now this guy is he's just greedy. It's just about greed. So then it made him a less nuanced villain in my opinion. Because again, at first I was like, is he going to be like a Killmonger or somebody where you may not like his tactics, but his rationale is something to discuss? But no, it was not. It was just came down to him just being somebody else who wanted some money. So it actually made it very boring to me when that became the case. I don't like one note villains anymore. Like I don't want someone who's just after world domination or money, or that's boring. Tell me why you
Yeah.
want to kill all these people. Tell it better be more than that. It better be because your mama slept with somebody when you was a kid and they came back and slaughtered the family or something. You know what I mean? Like give me real substance. This rest of this
Okay.
is boring.
Okay, Thanos.
I'm just saying. Y'all got to, because now we've had some great villains, so you got to bring it.
Yep. In the midst of everything going on, the prime minister managed to come around. She has a heart to heart. I think it's very vulnerable of her to come clean to him about how she felt her impact was on the war. She said she was injured, she saw the kid, saved the kid, got the shot, seen across the world. He tells her the story of Winston Churchill, and he became famous for essentially escaping. I thought that was sweet and heartwarming. But do you think she was too hard on herself?
No, I think we would have all felt like that, to be honest. Like, imposter syndrome is already a thing, right? Put on top of that, where you feel like you got accolades for something that you know you don't feel like you live up to the hype of, right? So I don't think she was being too hard on herself, but inevitably, it is what it is. And was she still there? Did she still have an impact? Yes, maybe not in the exact ways that other people thought she did, but yeah, she
Right.
still went to war and had to do her thing and be in
She
combat and all of
trained, she
that. So
fought. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
her training worked for her in this
maybe she did
situation.
not rescue a child in the ways that people thought she did, but for sure she did things that made her, in a position that she now finds herself in. And she obviously is doing a good job and wants to make a real impact as president. So, perception is really, it doesn't really matter that much.
It actually means a lot, right? Because the people perceived her in that
What I
heroic
mean is,
way.
inevitably perception doesn't really matter in the sense of it's not going to stop her from doing the job, right?
Right.
She's going to do the job. She's going to do it well.
We ended up dealing with a frenemy situation. Dun dun dun. How was this Corporal Ratledge even able to do half the stuff that he did? There was an inside man. Nope. Shall I say inside woman? I have here. It was Joanna all along.
Shout out to
Shout
Catherine
out to
Hahn.
Agatha.
Catherine Hahn is my girl.
She said, "You stole my destiny." Now, there was some foreshadowing, right? When they were on the plane to South Africa, when she said something like, "Oh, we used to be friends, and then you won, and we're friends again." And Viola's character was like, "I never stopped being friends with you."
Right. Be careful who you keep around you.
Right. Was this a big revelation for you, Ashley?
I honestly didn't see it coming when I was watching it. I was like, oh damn. I mean, her grabbing the thing, I thought she was grabbing it because she's one of the good guys. And so yay, we're in good shape. I did not foresee it as like, oh, you doing this because you're in cahoots with the enemy. It obviously all made sense and her jealousy was sad. But, you know, those powerful positions and those powerful ambitions that people have are corrupting. That's why I said when I finally watched Conclave on Peacock, to see even amongst alleged religious
Holy
people
people. Yep.
the level of ambition and politics going into trying to elect the next pope, I was like, humanity is some shit. Like,
It's crazy, actually. And what people are willing to do to maintain their proximity to power. I mean, we talk
yes.
about it all the time in elections, but something as more concentrated as people being in her freaking cabinet wanting to backstab her
Mm-hmm.
the whole time, that would be rough.
Yeah, and I'm starting to wonder if power is more insidious than money, because in a lot
Agreed.
of cases, like even with Conclave, it wasn't about money. It was about influence.
Well, someone said that before, and I thought it was an interesting conversation. It was like years ago. And they were like, would you rather have $1 million or be president then of the United States? And because we're indoctrinated in this country because of our capitalism, everybody said the money. And he was like, the millionaires and now billionaires, if all we wanted was money, they would be satisfied. why are they running for office? Because of power, because they can make the laws, because
Mm-hmm.
they can have influence. And I was like, yo, that's so real. And
Yeah. Feeds into that ego.
it sure does. It sure does. Really quick, it made me think about the Obamas. You know, there's like divorce rumors with the Obamas,
I
right?
saw Michelle talking about that. I will never believe a word until either one of them would announce
That's
something
what
like
I'm
that.
saying.
There's
And
no
if
way.
they are quote unquote living separately, they are grown and they probably got multiple houses. They probably
Yeah.
want to do different things.
I
Like,
don't
I'll
even
see
see
you.
that. I can't even see it. I think they're good. I just think even what's my girl's name? Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell have talked about this. When you've been together for decades, you don't have to spend 24/7 underneath somebody to love somebody.
I mean, hold up under somebody's arms. You're like, I'm hot. I need space.
And also, I know him. I've seen him every day for 30
Every day.
years.
Yes, exactly.
He can go away for two
Exactly.
weeks. It's okay. I'll be fine.
Miss me. Miss me. And we could come back together. That's what I'm trying to allude to as well. It's like, it's okay to miss somebody and look forward to hanging out with them again. Like, they're your person. You have that history. I brought this up because I'm thinking about power and the ego that has to go with it. But it shows that he is humble enough to say recently, he was like, he's indebted to Michelle, essentially. He's like, I'm in the negative right now. And I'm like, ooh.
Yep. He knows there was a lot of sacrifice. I'm sure on his part as well, but a lot of sacrifice that went into those 8 years. So,
Yep, yep, yep.
I
And
mean, she's
speaking
wearing
of,
her hair in braids. She's like, listen, I am
it brings me so much joy. And then
living
she be
now.
doing all the ponytails and all the
Hmm.
different styles. It brings me
Oh,
so much joy. I love it.
I have some Pinterest stuff from her because we're going to
Same,
be getting some of those hairstyles.
same,
Yeah, she looks great.
same.
She looks great. And doing her podcast with her brother, I love it.
I love it. It kind of made me a little sad though, because it's one of those things where they've lost both of their parents now,
Yeah.
and the fact that they're like, let's do something together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, but that's important though. You try to stay close to family and friends, but sometimes you have to create the togetherness.
yes, yes. And it's nothing like a podcast. It's on
Nothing like a
tape.
podcast. Laura and I talk almost as much as my mother and I talk because like we do business together, we're friends, we have text threads, we have Instagram threads. Like she is a part of my daily life, you know? And so absolutely. Yeah.
uh so I also brought them up because of the family dynamic. And again, because we are avid movie watchers, we can see things a mile away. Them talking about Serena's RDF talents, or did I even say that right? I think it's, yeah. Anyway, her technological prowess. I'm like, I know this is going to come handy in this movie. And sure enough, it did. Her and her brother was able to escape. The father still somehow gets captured. But they ended up, doing what needs to be done to help the bad guys lose some of their grip. As I mentioned, there was the big reveal that Joanna was in on with the bad guys. And Odu got stabbed by one of the Asian countries. Shout out to
South
uh,
Korea.
South Korea.
Her
Thank
and her
you.
husband were some real ones.
They were. They were. Yes. But of course, that didn't stop him. He managed to leave and he captures the daughter. This is where the movie kind of, this is where I for sure glazed over because I'm like, what are we doing with this helicopter? She legit says, I don't know how to fly it, yet she is.
Movie magic. Also, why kidnap the daughter? He snuck out of the room. He could have taken Viola. He could have taken the other lady who was in there, but you sneak out only to take the daughter and then try. I was confused. I was like, why are we taking a hostage at this point? Then
Well, he
also,
was trying to make the exchange, your daughter for the wallet.
but he didn't know that he didn't have the wallet until she
True.
came out there and showed up.
So
Like he
true.
didn't even
Yeah.
realize he had dropped it.
Yeah.
So it didn't make sense. But it to your point, it is like a scene from a rock film or any action film of today where it doesn't make a difference as long as it's dramatic and all of a sudden we have ropes out of nowhere, perfect size and fit, full crew out. We were just on the tarmac 2 seconds ago, but all these people that came out the door and rigged something to save this helicopter from going down. Okay,
Exactly.
got it.
And
Miraculous.
there was a daughter mother moment. What were your thoughts on their dynamic?
It's just a phase. I mean, she's just rebelling at this time because she's a teenager and she's under even more scrutiny than most teenagers because she is the child of the president of the United
The
States. I mean,
first daughter.
we've heard, I mean, even Jenna Bush still talks about her experiences as, having to be the first daughter in the White House and her and her sister and all that. And I can't wait for the Obama daughters to someday tell their tales
I
and
don't
what that
think they
experience was
I
like.
don't think they're gonna bother. They're
I think
like,
they'll talk about it someday when they have established themselves and they're full-fledged adults. I think they will, especially probably I could see the oldest more so than the youngest.
yeah,
But because I say that in particular because she's getting into film and all that stuff. So she may tell her story
right.
in some capacity. Yeah. I mean, I just think she's testing the boundaries and all that. And the job is demanding. So she probably doesn't feel like she has necessarily the level of connection with her mom that she would like right now. So I think it's just a phase. It'll be fine.
Well, they saved the day. President Daniel Sutton gets the world leaders to sign on her Together plan. She comes back to the United States, and Manny is whole and back to work because I didn't talk about it, but Sir was looking ghostly.
Yes.
It made me so sad.
I said, Viola, if you got Manny killed, I will not be okay.
I was not okay. Especially the fact that it wasn't a clear shot, a clean shot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I hope he doesn't get infected.
And I was also like, Manny, why didn't you go out with the prime minister and the other lady? Like, we could have got you help. The ambulances were outside. We could have got you some help, but he would not leave that woman.
Where's the president?
A real one.
Real one. Ashley, do you have any final thoughts for G20?
I'm glad that the Africans banded together to help.
Yes,
The Dora Milaje came out
when
in
I
full
found out
effect.
Wakanda came through, I
Seriously,
was
when the one
like,
chick leapt on them and like did the whole spin and tuck and whatever, I
yes,
said, Dora Milaje. Like, there we
I know
go.
that's right.
There we go. So then I was like, well, I'm glad we in Africa because now we all in this together.
And she
Um,
had the whole like, what did they call those
yeah,
big?
to blast through. Yeah, like
Yes,
the
is it
rocket
beluga?
launcher,
Yeah,
rocket
rocket
launcher,
launcher.
something like that.
Yeah,
First of all, she would have killed that man. Like you blasting through glass. That man would
yes.
have been dead. But okay. For the sake of the film, sure. Does he have a real Australian accent?
From New Zealand, and I say
Interesting.
that because I was like, did I know he had an accent?
I
Like,
did not.
yo,
I did not. So I didn't know if it was fake for the film or if he had been faking it in real life. So good to know. This is the second thing I've watched where Australians are like villains. And I'm wondering why. What have the
huh?
Australians done?
What was the other thing you watched?
Do you want me to tell you? I don't feel like you want me to tell you because it's not something you've
Oh,
seen yet.
okay, no,
Okay.
probably not.
Yeah.
But what did you see recently that I can
You
figure it
don't try to
out?
guess. Don't try to. Why would you try to guess? You don't want anything to be spoiled. Then you're like, what have you been watching? Don't worry about it. You'll see it when you see it, and it'll all click into place. But the
Mm.
point is, I was like, that's interesting because Australians are never villains. Australians are kangaroos and uh nature.
outdoorsy,
Yeah,
right?
and sun and sand and fun. So I'm like, what's
Yeah,
happening with the Australians in our films? But
interesting.
that's it.
What did you think about the fashion? Because that's my final thoughts. Because I did appreciate the red dress and the cape, loved it,
Yeah.
but it also made her a blaring target. And the shoes, they were really with those gym shoes. Those are like the ugliest gym shoes I think I've seen in a very long time.
Especially to be encased, right? I was like,
Yes, yes.
but I was distracted by her, and this is not to nitpick because I don't want to nitpick. Whoever did her makeup overdid it. Viola Davis did not need the level of makeup that I feel like they put on her for that look because she's beautiful in many
Yes.
things and many red carpets and all this stuff. And I was just like, I feel like y'all really overdid it for her
I
in
think
this
it's funny
film.
that you say that because I thought she looked lovely in that final scene with the straight bob. It was very reminiscent of First Lady Michelle with the middle part.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she looked great with the white suit jacket. I think it's interesting. The reason why I brought up fashion is because fashion has become very significant for women in the White House, courtesy of First Lady Michelle, VP Harris,
Even before
and
Jackie
frankly,
O.
Jackie O, and even Hillary, because people gave her a hard time wearing pantsuits all the time. You know what I mean? So I think they incorporated a little bit of that into this film. And I thought that was interesting. If there's nothing else, time for hidden gems.
All right. I have three hidden gems this week. First one up is Dying for Sex on Hulu. This is Michelle Williams' return
Yes, yes,
after a
yes.
2 year hiatus, which she said was not intentional. She just kind of it just kind of worked out that way. But she read this script and got really excited, and it's a pairing with one of my faves, Jenny Slate. This is based on a real life story of a woman who is diagnosed with terminal cancer, and it sends her on a life trajectory of discovery and adventure and all sorts of things, including sex, hence the title, Dying for Sex. So it was humorous, but also emotional. I made the mistake of watching the first 15 minutes of the first episode on a lunch break, and I don't know why because I went back into work emotional. So I definitely did not do that for the rest of the series, but it was really, really good. And I thought that the chemistry between Michelle Williams and Jenny Slate was beautiful to see. So I enjoyed that. That is available currently to stream on Hulu. My second hidden gem, new podcast, Good Hang with Amy Poehler. It is a Ringer podcast, and y'all, I have binged every single episode that is currently out, and there's like 5 or 6 episodes,
It's
and I've
really
listened to them.
good.
It's so good. I've listened to
And
them
shout
back
out
to
to
back.
her social media team. Like every time I repost her stuff, like they like it. I'm like,
Yes,
oh,
yes, because I reposted the Quinta one, but that was really just like the second one I had seen from the interview with Tina Fey. Quinta was kind of like the second one I noticed. And
mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, okay. Now I'm definitely going to listen to this. So I listened to Quinta's first, and now I've subsequently gone back and listened to all of them. So Tina Fey, Martin Short, Rashida Jones, Quinta. The latest one that's dropped is with Captain Han, who again I said I love to death. Um,
Yes.
you had Ike Barinholtz has been on as well, and I just realized like it just brings me joy. I like the format of the podcast where she starts out with talking to people who are friends or know the guests to ask them what should I ask this person,
Oh,
and then
I do.
sitting down chatting with them and just trying to have, in her words, a good hang.
I love that conversation she had where it was like you don't have to be like super talented to do certain things, or what was she saying? She's like she sees people with microphones all the time, and she's like, this is like less than 10%
She said,
for me.
I'm giving
Like,
25%.
yeah.
I'm giving I'm giving 25%. Yeah. But it's so funny. And I think having a show with comedy people
Yeah.
Just again brings a level of humor and joy to the interviews. My only complaint is that they're not long enough. Like every time an episode is over, I think like, oh, I could have had and could have used more. So that's my only complaint, Amy. I know that the note she got back from Bill Simmons was lose the laptop. My 2 cent is I want longer episodes, but otherwise I'm hooked. Love it. My third and final hidden gem is Your Friends and Neighbors on Apple TV Plus. This is a new series starring John Hamm, Amanda Peet, Olivia Munn, and John Hamm is really the focus. He is a finance bro, very successful, who loses his job and then starts robbing his friends. It is an interesting tale of the wealthy and elite and kind of what happens during a fall from grace. So I think I've watched the first 2 episodes. The third episode should be dropping this week. And I'm definitely going to stick with it. I say this all the time. And I finally have heard other people saying this too. For instance, David Oyelowo was recently on the Higher Learning podcast to promote
Yes.
Government Cheese, which is a new
Mm-hmm.
Apple TV Plus show. And they just talked about, because I didn't know he has a first look deal with Apple TV Plus, his production company.
Nice. He's been in multiple projects, so it
Yes, I
makes
mean he was
sense.
he was in Silo, which I love, and I've touted so
Yes.
much on this podcast. But they talked about just the premiere TV shows that Apple TV Plus churns out, right? And I have said this so many times. Apple TV Plus has the best quality shows on streaming that I watch.
And
They are
apparently no
cinematic.
marketing budget because they never take the time to advertise
Well,
them.
besides Severance, I mean, Severance had an impeccable marketing campaign for
Yes.
this latest
But I'm
season
talking
with.
about like Dope Thief and,
Yeah, sure. There's
some
a
of,
lot of content on there that does not get the pub. Correct. You're right. But when you discover it, you realize like, oh, this is a different level of production. Like this is a different level of content. And David Oyelowo basically said it's because they're like, we don't have to be in this space. We choose to be in this space. So if we're gonna be here, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do it well. And I absolutely agree. So Apple TV Plus, keep doing y'all thing because y'all do it so well. That's it. That's all, Delora. Those are my 3 hidden gems. What about you?
all right. I have a couple of books and an album. So, starting with books, I've read some books that I really enjoy recently and I want to share. So, the first one is called Wild Side. It's the third book in the Rose Hill series. It's by Elsie Silver. I actually never read any of her books. She's really popular on Book Talk. But this one I picked up because one of my favorite book tropes of all time is marriage of convenience. Like, I love it, especially if they hate each other in the beginning. Like, that journey, I'm on it. I love it every time. Sold.
I
And
gotta
this is
fall in
one of
love with my
them.
husband.
Especially when the dude is like, my wife. Oh, oh, the things it does to me. I love it. And it's just very unique. It's small town, but it's Canadian. So it's not necessarily Texas because that's very popular too. And he's a wrestler. It's like so random, but I loved it. Loved it. Great chemistry. A lot of fun. The second book. This is fantasy, or it's fantasy slash historical. The Bone King and the Starling by Elizabeth Stevens. It is what I like to call, and I heard someone say it and I'm going to repeat it, a Viking romance palate cleanser. Like, it is so, I don't want to say simple, but it's not that deep. But it was so good. And I was intrigued from the beginning. Like, yes, get you a Viking king who meets you one time and is completely obsessed and wants to marry you. Like, of course, why not? Shout out to the Vikings, the show. It was a moment. I enjoyed it. As for the album, Will Smith, based on a true story. Is Will Smith the greatest rapper of all time? I'm not going to answer that question, but this album was entertaining. His intro called Barbershop, I mean, he literally put everything that people have ever talked to him about or talked about him in it, talking about, oh, they took his Oscar, oh, his relationship with Jada, oh, he doesn't have any money. Like, it was very clever, very witty. It was a lot of fun. I also enjoy Work of Art, which is featuring Jaden. And my favorite song right now that is a complete vibe is called Hard Times Smile, featuring Tiana Taylor. Vibes. Like, I'm like, is this going to be a vibe going into the spring, summer? Like, really, really good. So, those are my hidden gems.
Very nice. Well, guys, that is it. That is all for our episode today. Check out those hidden gems. Check out G20 if you haven't yet and let us know your thoughts. We look forward to hearing it. Please share this episode out with everybody you know. We will be back. But in the meantime, as always, be blessed.
Bye.